Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all doing great and following the 3 H's of the channel. And in this video, it's all about the state of West Virginia. So, if that sounds like something you're interested in, pull up a stump with me and let's get into it. Thank you for watching. So before I start this, be forewarned. This isn't going to be one of those I was absolutely shaking and crying as I was typing this out kind of stories. It's not even going to be particularly scary for some of you, but it's just something very, very weird that happened to me when I was younger. I think I was roughly 10 or 11 years old, so there was me, my younger brother, my parents, and my grandparents. We lived on roughly 100 acres of property in rural West Virginia. Our houses are within 300 feet of each other, and there was also this small apartment complex that was filled with, honestly, mostly crackheads that was sort of nearby. The rest of the local neighborhood, 17 houses in total, is pretty upper middle class. Besides the neighborhood, though, there's no genuine civilization for about 15 miles in any direction. That said, to the north of our house is 15 miles of untouched, mostly unexplored forest. Literally 90% of these woods have probably never seen any human eyes, to my knowledge. Anywho, before I was born, my grandfather cleared off most of the woodland from the property and found a pond in the process, which he then stocked with fish. We used to go over and fish with my grandfather all the time. This was before he slowed down as he got to an advanced age, so the whole area is a pretty nostalgic thing for me. But this one day, my parents were out. My mom was out shopping, and my dad was working. My brother and I are left in our grandmother's charge. I was still at that, quote, play outside and act like I'm John Halo himself phase, so I ask my grandmother if I can go out. She agrees, but tells me to please stay close to the house. After about an hour of screwing around near the house, I suddenly hear a voice. I turned in the direction that I thought it came from, toward her house. I hear it again, and I immediately decide two things. For one, it's my mom's voice. For two, it's coming from our house, or in that general direction. I try to call back to her and start walking in that direction. I was thinking that she got back with the groceries, and I just didn't notice. But there was no response. She just calls my name again, in the exact same kind of tone. I think, wait, what? I realize two more things. My mom's car is not in the driveway. The front door of the house is shut, and the voice is actually calling my name. Usually, my mom used a nickname that she had for me. I stop dead in my tracks and I wait to hear the voice again. And then I think, yes, that's definitely my mom, and she's definitely calling my full name. I try to answer it again, but get no response. After a few seconds pause, it's just my name again. And then I make one final realization. The voice is not coming from the house. It's coming from that pond. It didn't really creep me out. It just honestly confused me. I turned around and went back to the house. I heard the voice call my name one more time as I walked back inside. I told my grandmother what happened. She told me to stay put and went outside herself. Maybe a few seconds later, she came back inside and said to stay inside. It's getting late. I say, Grandma, it's 3 p.m. I ask if she heard anything. She said she didn't and just told me to drop it. So for all those years, I just assumed that I was an absolute schizo. But recently at dinner, we were talking about weird experiences and stuff that we've had over the years. I brought this experience up, and my grandmother pulled me aside and told me something about that day that she had never told me before. She said that when she walked outside, she stood there for a few seconds. Then she hears the voice call my name. She's genuinely confused. She calls back to the voice, using my mother's name, and then the voice switches and calls my grandmother's name. As you can imagine, my grandmother thinks this is very weird, and she's kind of spooked by it, And then, over by the pond, she said that she could see something. She didn't know what, and she didn't really elaborate. She just said that there was something over there. But when she came back inside, she told me to stay inside, that it's getting late, and then immediately called my mom to see what the hell was going on. My mom was in fact still in town and would not be home for another 2 hours. So that's my story. Could it have been some crackhead from the apartment complex? Could it have possibly been a neighbor? It could have been, but that's very doubtful to me. To get to our house, specifically to get to the pond, you have to go pretty out of your way. Literally no reason to be on our property. My grandmother and I both have pretty distinct and uncommon names, so there's no honest way that it was just like us mishearing a bird on the wind or something. It knew all of our names, and that's very weird to me. I have a really weird one. When I was about 8 years old, my grandfather was still alive, and we'd go visit him in his cabin. It was way out in the woods out in West Virginia, and we'd always go visit him in the winter. It was a pretty comfy spot for the most part. There was no internet, but I didn't know what the internet was at that point, so I didn't care. There was a warm fireplace, mounted animal heads and all that stuff. My grandpa was a pretty nice guy, though he was kinda neurotic about the woods around him. He would always jump out of his chair at the tiniest sound outside, even though 90% of the time it was just like a raccoon or something like that. This one time, though, there was a blizzard supposed to be coming in. It was all my grandpa kept talking about the entire weekend. My older sister, for some reason, had instilled in me the belief that the best time to go sliding was right before a blizzard, right when the snow was freshly falling. The idiot that I was, I believed her, and I left the house without telling anyone so I could experience the perfect sled. I cannot believe how much of a moron I was looking back at this. There was still a little bit of snow left on the ground from a few days prior, but it was mostly dirt at this point, so it was pretty easy to see the trail up to the top of the mountain. I took a flashlight with me just in case it got too dark, but it was overcast, so I could still see well. I reached the top where we usually sled, just as big snowflakes started to fall, which meant that the ground would be covered soon after. All I had to do was wait. I was just sitting there, waiting for the snow to fall like a dumbass. After about 30 minutes of watching the snow fall, I started to get second thoughts. I started looking around a bit more. Over the mountain range, you could see the dark clouds rolling in, and I mean like dark gray. Everything else seemed lighter in comparison, which was the first onset of an eerie feeling. That's when I started noticing how weird things were getting. Usually when a storm is rolling in like that, the wind really picks up, and the snow really comes down hard. This snow was coming down still as can be. There was absolutely no sound other than my breathing. The sky started getting abnormally dark, but the snowy ground remained bright. Suddenly, a wave of dread washed over me for some reason. The eeriness of the whole situation was getting more apparent to me. I started to realize that I hadn't seen a single animal on my way up the hill, not even a single squirrel, which were very, very common in the area. The whole place seemed dead, devoid, and that's when I saw it. While looking around at the tree line, I saw a white fox standing there, obviously looking at me. It stood there, motionless, like I had caught it while it was walking into the woods. The more I looked at it, the more I was enraptured by it. It seemed so graceful and so wild, like it was an embodiment of nature itself. I wanted to walk up to it, like it was compelling me to follow. It sat down in the snow, staring at me. Even though it had to be at least 20 yards away, it felt like it was right in front of me. There was some sort of reassuring feeling in its eyes. I glanced down at its mouth, which was opening and closing in a really weird way. It looked almost like it was whispering. I was almost about to get up and walk toward it until I heard a faint cry from the direction of my grandpa's house, which had to be my family calling my name. I turned my head to hear it better, and indeed it was. I realized how hard the snow was now falling, and how I was absolutely freezing somehow. I felt all of a sudden like I had been in a trance this whole time, and suddenly woken up. I wondered what the heck was going on until I realized there are no white foxes in West Virginia. We had silver foxes, but they looked completely different to this one that I was looking at, which looked like an Arctic fox or something similar. I turned back around to the fox. Dread shot through my body as I saw the fox was standing on 2 legs, bipedal. It felt like a pit formed in my chest, and my face and limbs got really hot, and my legs started carrying me away down the trail before I could even think. I had never ran so fast in my entire life, booking it past all the trees on the trail. I saw the familiar orange glow of my grandpa's porch light where he stood shouting my name. I dove through the door before he could even ask me where the F I had been. I ended up staying inside for the rest of our stay, and I refused to look out any windows. I didn't even bother to go back and get the sled that I had left on the hill when I booked it that night. After we went back home, I refused to ever go back to my grandpa's. I had told everyone what I saw, but they all thought my mind was just playing tricks on me. Even my grandpa said that he had never seen anything like that on the mountain. I kinda suppressed the memory of it for a while, wanting to believe that it was a daydream, but that feeling of dread comes up when I see a picture of Arctic foxes. The feeling was all too real for a daydream. That's all I've got. My grandpa died in 2017 in December. My parents and my sister went to go sort out his belongings. They wanted me to go, but once again, I refused. If I ever have to see that cabin again, it'll be too soon. Alright, I want to tell you the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. I was living in West Virginia. It was the summer of my junior year. Our friend Jake was turning 18, so we obviously were going to have a party. We decided to go camping. I bring a big-ass tent. It's me, my friend Spencer, Jake, Sam, and Shane. We pick out a place that's not far from Spencer's property, but deep enough in the woods that going back to the house is damn near impossible in the dark. And before I continue, there's a little bit of backstory here. So there is this, quote, friend of ours who we used to hang with, but we kind of got disgusted with him, and he's been basically fading out from our group. His ego was bloated. He's never contributed weed, and he often hindered our adventures as a result of his folks having caught him with weed one too many times. And yes, we're all pretty big stoners. We go out to Spencer's quite a bit, as he lives about half an hour out of town, and his parents don't really care, which basically means that we can do whatever we want out there, within reason. Mostly, we just have a couple joints and play video games. The place that Spencer lives in is a very, very small wooded area, known locally as 10 Mile. And it has its share of spooky stories, including a satanic church about a mile away from Spencer's place. One that was often brought up was something called the Big White Thing. Supposedly, it's 9 feet tall and white. It was sort of like a Sasquatch-type character that was blamed, in jest, for a few strange incidents of literally disassembled deer. However, we always knew it was an urban legend. Also, a side note, While I've read my fair share of stories over the years, especially of the Goatman type, I had never gone camping, and I didn't think that we'd actually run into anything. But anyways, back to the actual story. It was about 8 p.m. when we got all of our stuff to the campsite. Spencer and Jake get a fire going as Sam and Shane bust supplies back and forth from the entry into the woods. I begin to set up the tent. I should have started when we had more daylight, but of course, we're stoners. We just waste time laughing at each other and doing dumb stuff. But oh well. So right as I begin to single-handedly put up a 9-person tent, our friend Corey shows up. It turns out that he walked 9 miles of hilly road to get here. He wasn't even invited, and we don't even know how he found out. I tell him to get his lazy ass over here and help me. He tries, but of course, he's too tired, he says, to do much of anything. So I think, okay, screw it. I'll go Bear Grylls on this, and I decide to put it all up myself. As the sun falls, Spencer gets the call that more weed is on its way. Spencer, Jake, Sam, and Shane all leave to go get it, leaving me here with fat-ass Corey. His phone has a bright-ass flashlight though, so I'm not going to complain too much. We're alone. It's about 9 o'clock, and it's pitch black without the flashlight. And then some stuff starts to happen. So about 20 minutes in, his phone just randomly dies from an allegedly full charge. So here I am, single-handedly pitching a big-ass tent in the dark with no one here to keep me company except for Man-Tits McGee. I sort of hear sticks break around the clearing that we're in. Several times, it sounded like they were headed back with the weed. Each time I stand up and go, "Spencer?" Then I listen a few minutes. I get no response, and I go back to the tent. I start to notice a dead smell. I figure that it might be dead fish that washed up on the edge of a nearby lake. It goes away after about 30 minutes, so I just don't worry about it anymore. So at about 10:30, I finally get the tent up. I throw all my stuff in there and lie down, hoping that they're back soon enough. We continue to hear what sounds like the group coming back, yet each time, it's nothing. The smell comes back 5 minutes after we get in the tent. I figure it's just a musty-ass tent. It was in my basement after all. And then I start to feel real uneasy. I play Shine On You Crazy Diamond on my iPod. It calms my nerves for a bit. Eventually, I close the tent door because I really just don't feel safe. And then 45 minutes after this, they finally show up. I have no idea what took them so long, but I felt relieved. We smoke a joint, we get high for a few hours, and everything is fine. The possibility of some kind of cryptid or a Goatman is on my mind at this point, but I keep telling myself it's just bullshit from the internet and it's not real. So fast forward some more. 2:30 in the morning rolls around. We're all outside the tent at this point. We're roasting chicken dogs around a pretty good fire. The smell is kind of gone, but I also may just not have been thinking about it. I go to take a piss like 30 or 40 feet from the group, facing the pitch black darkness of the woods with my dick in my hand. I start to flip in my head for some reason. All of a sudden, I see something. Sort of like that scene in Signs, where the alien walks past the birthday party. It's basically just a flash of white, but it's so bright in contrast to everything else that I sort of make out a human figure walking behind 2 bushes. This is too much for me. I zip my fly and book it back to camp. I start awkwardly laughing and tell my friends that I saw the big white thing. We all have a laugh. The smell is overwhelming to me, but it seems like I'm the only one that notices it now. I just pretend that everything's cool, though I've been scared out of my wits and out of my high. I'm constantly hearing sticks breaking and watching my back. It's now around 4 a.m. Jake, Spencer, and Corey have crashed. Me, Sam, and Shane are all still up. They usually stay up this late on weekends, but for me, I'm just up because I'm scared as hell. We all bullshit around and sneak one or two tiny bowls while the other guys sleep, but it doesn't do anything to me. The smell has honestly stopped bothering me. I just feel really creeped out. Sam and Shane are completely oblivious, and suddenly, I have to pee again. Shane does too, so he goes with me, and we go back to back about 15 feet from each other. I feel a little bit more confident that I'm safe. Time passes. The fire starts to burn away. It's time for more firewood. We all spread out around the campground. I'm on edge, but I don't want to come back empty-handed. Suddenly, I notice a different smell, kind of like sweat, but really old. I start picking up wood quickly. I try to think about heading back. All of a sudden I hear, "Spencer?" I freeze. I start looking around in all directions. I can barely see 5 feet in front of me, and it's all woods anyways. I start to go, "No, it's me, man," figuring that Sam or Shane mistook me for Spencer for some odd reason. And I'm met by dead silence. No crickets, no wind, no leaves or sticks. It sounds like a soundproof room. Right beside me, right in my ear, I hear, "Spencer?" I turn and book it back to camp. I start screaming and shit, trying to wake everybody up and get everyone in a group. We all get in the tent and zip it up. Everyone else is kinda pissed at me because I freaked them out. I tell them that I heard someone talking to me out in the woods. I tell them that it sounded just like my voice. I tell them about how I'd been feeling the whole night. They just tell me I'm crazy. Sam and Shane get back out of the tent. Everyone else just goes back to sleep. I get in my sleeping bag, but I'm not sleeping tonight. But after about a half hour, I'm starting to feel really tired. That exhaustion is coming on. It's around 5. I remember checking my phone. I've been fading in and out for 15 minutes. After momentarily regaining total consciousness, I notice that I only hear woods. There's no fire, and Sam and Shane aren't talking. Not 5 minutes later, Shane walks into the tent. It's dark, but Shane is fairly short, so I figure it's him. He sort of awkwardly stands up in the tent for a bit. I tell him to just lie down. I sort of whispered it. He does. I go back to drifting. About 10 minutes later, I hear boots running. Sam practically dives into the tent, but he doesn't manage to wake anybody up. Even Shane is fast asleep. Sam tells me that he heard talking too. He tells me that it began to mimic them. He tells me that they booked it. I point out that Shane got here quite a while ago and wasn't freaking out. He goes cold. I look over, and Shane is sleeping like a baby. Sam just lies down, not saying a word. I fell asleep. The rest of the night was calm. I wake up the next morning. Everything would appear to be fine. Me, Jake, and Spencer are the first ones out of our tent at around 7:30. I feel quite refreshed for some reason, like I just took the perfect power nap. We all smoke a cigarette. I tell them about the freaky stuff last night too. They reveal that they smelled everything as well. Jake attributed it to a dead animal out in the woods. Spencer attributed it to Corey's sweaty state. After the cigarette, we wake up Sam and Shane for a wake and bake. I pull Shane aside and ask for a cigarette, and then I pull him aside again, further from the group, and ask him if he had a rough night as well. He said yeah, that he and Sam heard some real freaky stuff out in the woods. He mistook it for me trying to catch up with them. Then, they said they saw something running through the woods. They ran back to the campsite. He says that he eventually got split up with Sam and didn't find the camp until an hour ago. I'm noping my ass off right now. He said that when he got to the tent, everyone was sleeping, so he just lied down. I told him that I was awake when he got into the tent, and that I said something to him. He said he didn't remember any of that, that when he got there, the tent door was open, and everyone was asleep. But he said he was also in a really shitty mental state, so it's possible that he got things mixed up. The rest of the day went fine, but I didn't sleep for the next week. There are woods like this all around my neighborhood. I haven't been in them since all this happened. So I hope you enjoyed that video as much as I enjoyed making it. If any of the encounters in this video stuck out to you, let me know which one it was down in the comments. If you have one of your own, as always, I have an email in the description below. Also down there are links to a PayPal and a Patreon if you would like to support the channel that way. And here on YouTube, there are memberships and super thanks. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share with all your friends and all that great stuff. If you're wondering when I post, it's generally every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, so stay tuned for those this week. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Thank you for pulling up a stump. Let's have a good week.